Howdy everybody, old Gare out here at the Fishing Shack. Welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report. Boy, we have a pretty good report for you. I'm doing this report right now and it's raining outside, it's lightning, thunder, and you know, boy, it's a good welcome because on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it was really hot and muggy here, and now we have this cool front moving in, dropping this rain, and it's going to be cool for the upcoming weekend. Now today I heard on Friday it was around 82 degrees, 83 for a high. Saturday and Sunday maybe around 84. Whew, boy, you can't hardly beat this for this time of the year in August, that is for sure. Welcome to Fishing Chums. By golly, thank you all for being with us, and I want to thank all the thousands of viewers that have been with us last week. A lot of you people, of course a bunch of you, over on Facebook. We have a tremendous following on Facebook. We have a few over on YouTube, and boy, we're having a big time. And if you want to join us on YouTube where you never miss anything, be sure to subscribe. Brandon put it up there. Subscribe. All you have to do is, if I can find that button, there it is. Push that button. It's absolutely free. You'll never miss out on anything. Good show for you today. We've got a good report, some good photos coming your way during the report. Then at the end of the report, be sure to stay with us because Brandon and I have selected some really fun stuff that I know you're going to enjoy, and that's after the show. We'll scroll through those. We have a good show for you today, folks. I'm telling you, the fish are biting. Well, let's go fishing.
Chums!
Well, that's right. Just looking at my reports here, it really looks good. We've had some pretty good reports even earlier in the week, midweek, with all that hot weather. We still had some nice fish being caught here in the Ozarks. Well, let's start off. Let's go out at Beaver Lake. Boy, I love beaver in northwestern Arkansas. When I say hi to all of our viewers out there, it's been kind of a mixed bag at Beaver the last few days. They've been picking up a few nice crappie, jigging minnows, I understand. Also, a few nice stripers have been caught out there. The bass fishing's been fair, and they've been picking up a few walleye at the lower end of Beaver Lake on the points and secondary points. So I tell you what, Beaver looks pretty good for the upcoming weekend. Now for the bass, I do understand there's been some fair topwater fishing in the morning or late evening. Spooks has been as good as anything. They've been picking up some fish on poppers as well. Some whopper ploppers, and they've been doing a little drop shotting, and I had a report of Ned rig out there the other day, and they've been picking up some fish by casting, getting into schools of shad and using grubs and also some swim bait. So check out Beaver for the upcoming weekend. I tell you what, there's been some nice fish caught, some nice crappie, and as I mentioned, some stripers and the walleye. Looks good for the upcoming weekend. Let's go over at Table Rock. Table Rock's not bad right now this week. We've got some great photos to pass on to you, that's for sure. Let's start off with the captain. Let's say hi to Scott Pingle. My golly, Scott, you were out just the other day and picked up some nice walleye. Look at this. Look at that stringer. And Patty had a few too, some nice ones. His wife, Patty, boy, two good walleye fishermen. They were caught out at Table Rock fishing the points. We'll be talking about this in a minute. Scott, good photo, my friend. Good going, good going. You're up there flying that big bird right now. I know you are. We'll see you soon. See you in September. And speaking of walleye, my old buddy Mountain Dew sent me this photo. He got a hold of it, and golly, this lady, I didn't get her name. I'm going to get it, though, because what a fish. She was fishing point 15 up the James River arm just the other day. And look at this beautiful walleye she caught, nearly 30 inches long, and it had to go over 10 pounds. Beautiful fish, beautiful fish. Good going, young lady. Good going. My golly, that was a nice fish. And you ever fished Table Rock and you caught something, you thought, well, how did that get in here? That happened the other day. Tony, look at Tony. He's a guide at Table Rock, a very good guide. And he was fishing some clients, I understand, the other day and hooked onto this striped bass on Table Rock, went over 20 pounds. Good going, Tony. And that fish, of course, that striper had to come down through the White River system at Beaver into Table Rock Lake. And I've caught a couple hybrids, but I've never caught a big striper that come down from Beaver. Hey, you never know what you're going to catch at Table Rock. You know, one day I was fishing several years ago out of Indian Point, and I was going out of the point, and I went across the point over to the first big point and west there, and I was down looking around 25, 35, 40 feet of water, going to do some grub fishing with some shad, pick up some bass, and a big topwater splash came up. And I thought, well, that's weird for December, so I cranked that grub in real fast, made a long cast. Luckily, I made a perfect cast, very lucky. And bam, that fish hit that. I reeled it in. I thought, well, I don't feel like a bass. I don't know what that is. I got it in. It was a rainbow trout over 7 pounds. That's a memory. That's one of those memories. That doesn't happen very often. But you do catch a trout once in a while out of Table Rock. Then a few later, 3 or 4 years later, I was in Big Cow Creek in the winter. I think this was January, and I got over a big school of shad down around 30 feet of water, and I was grubbing and spooning, and I'd caught some spots. I'd caught a nice smallmouth, a nice largemouth, and boom, I had this fish hit, and I brought it up, and it was a 4-pound rainbow trout. So once in a while, you do catch a trout out at Table Rock. All right, enough for the stories and photos. Let's go to a fishing report at Table Rock. They're in the same pattern, about the same thing happened the last few weeks. They're picking up some fish over the deep water around the trees with drop shots. 4-inch plastic worm, plum's a good color. And also they're still pitching that football jig up on those long gravel runs, pitching them up, getting it go to the bottom and dragging it with your favorite dressing, picking up a bass once in a while. Also, they've been picking up some fish on net rigs too. And they've been throwing some crankbaits occasionally and some swim baits. So Table Rock looked good for the good bass fishing this upcoming weekend. Just get out there and work it. And they're picking up some fish, by the way, on jigs around the docks too. Check this out. Then up the rivers, they've been using that summer pattern, that big 10-inch plastic worm. Plum colored's good, black's good. Getting up there in the James and the Kings and pitching those big old plastic worms towards a bank, as I mentioned, and swimming it back to a brush pile or a log and hang on, because there's been some nice bass being caught by using this method as well. A few crappie have been caught up the James, up in the Cape Fear area. Now, they're getting kind of tight-lipped, but a few boys are going up there and fishing the brush piles. They know where those brush piles are, and getting a jig and minnow down there. And boy, they're not filling the boat up or catching over their limits or catching limits maybe, but they are catching a good mess to stink up that skillet, and some real nice crappie can be caught. Now the walleye, once again, boy, there's some nice walleye being caught at Table Rock. Up the White River's been a pretty good bet, also up the James. And I know Scott was using a crankbait, and I'll tell you what you do this time of the year. You go up and you get out there with your good electronics and just scout the points and secondary points. You start up maybe 15 feet of water, come down 20, 25, 30. I wouldn't go over 30. And then if you see them near the bottom, or where you see them, they may be up suspended about midway. If they're midway, just troll that like a number 9, just a number 9 crankbait, a number 9 shad, flicker shad, and you might catch them this way. This is why they can be caught. But if they're deeper than that, put a weight, a swivel, and a weight up above that flicker shad, and get it down to that swivel with about that much line out. If you can see this, whoa, line out with your flicker shad at the end. Put a little weight and get that thing down there. And this is how you catch some walleye this time of the year out at Table Rock. Okay, they're still picking up some nice bluegill at Table Rock too. Get the kids out there with some night crawlers or earthworms, about 20, 25 feet of water. You'll catch some fish. All right, let's go out at Lake Taneycomo. That water temperature is 53 degrees out there today. Of course, it's always colder coming out of Table Rock Dam. They've been picking up some fish in that trophy area with some jerk baits. Once in a while, a big trout, a big brown or a big rainbow. And they've been picking up some fish when they're running water. Night crawlers, folks, is still the #1 bait, live bait by far. So if you're going to Taneycomo this weekend, use some earthworms or night crawlers. And when it's still, Get yourself about a 2-pound test rig, little 32nd or 64th ounce jigs, and try this at Lake Taneycomo. Looks good for the upcoming weekend. All right, let's go over at Bull Shoals. That water temperature today at Bull Shoals was 87 degrees. And again, that's going to drop with all this cooler weather and the rain. Boy, it's really raining out right now when I'm doing this report. And I understand this weekend that water temperature is going to drop because it's going to be like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the mid to low 80s temperature-wise. That's going to be a big difference. So I think things are going to change. At Bull Shoals, you need your electronics, get on your points and secondary points and cruise these areas and find big balls of shad. Once you find the shad, you can back off and throw some grubs, maybe some spoons, maybe some swim baits. Other people have been going in there with Ned rigs and just fishing right off the bottom. This can be good, especially when it's tough. Other people have been doing some drop shotting at Bull Shoals. And there's been a little bit of a top water bite at Bull Shoals too. I forgot to tell you about this. Early in the morning, they've been doing some spook, walking the spook. Also, they've been picking up some fish on spook, not on spook, but Ned, getting ahead of myself. Been picking up some fish on pop R's and whopper ploppers. Now, a lot of people not having too good luck, but there's a few people that's really getting in some nice top water action at Bull Shoals. All right, let's go out to Stockton. We're going to go to the photo of the week. We fished out there a couple of weeks. My gosh, we had a couple days this week and had a great time. Stockton, water temperature is 87 degrees out there this morning. Photo of the week, we want to say hi to Alice Walton. Alice Walton, look at these crappie she caught the other day. Beautiful fish. Nice size crappie out at Stockton. Photo of the week. And she said she didn't go out there and catch a quick limit. She had to work at it, but jigging, I think, on brush piles, and picked up a real nice mess of crappie. Good going, Alice. They've been picking up some fish in the brush. They've been going up the, I've heard a report up the river and getting balls of shad, picking up some crappie with crankbaits. And now we were fishing the other day and they were out on the flats, 15, 20 feet of water, and just slow trolling that spider rig. Boy, that was fun, and picked up a few really nice crappie as well. All right, also at Stockton, I've been picking up some nice walleye out there this week, some real nice eating size walleye. Nothing huge, once in a while a nice size, but just eating size fish. And they've been fishing the points anywhere a little bit shallower. They're going a little shallower, 14, 15 feet of water down to 20, 25 feet of water. Half a night crawler and like a roadrunner type bait or a jig. Other people have been trolling those flicker shads, and I think you'd catch some fish, especially at that lower end, I would think. You know, trolling those points and secondary points. It sounds good. All right, Pomme de Terre. We, a few old boys out at Pomme de Terre. That water temperature out there was 88 this morning, but that's going to drop for the weekend. And they've been going out and picking up some crappie. Look at this photo. Chris Patton was out. Chris, he's been on the show a few times. He's a fisherman. I believe he was out the other night and caught these mess of crappie. Look at that stringer. Woo, boy, that'll get you going. And they've been picking up some fish over some of the brush piles, and I understand around some of the docks, but the brush pile is going to be probably the best thing. And nice going, Chris. Nice crappie, nice crappie. They've been picking up some bass out there in the morning hours on some topwater baits, and some catfish, night crawlers or earthworms on a big ball, and also, of course, cut shad at Thompson. Out at Truman, the water temperature out there this morning was 86 degrees. And boy, they've been catching some nice crappie out there. And all the boys are being kind of quiet about it, but they are picking up some nice fish. In fact, look at Jim Ball. He was out the other day. Hey, now that's a nice mess of crappie, guys. Look at that bench full of crappie. That's some really nice fish. He caught these at Truman, and there's been some nice fish caught on the tree rows. Boy, I used to love to fish the tree rows out there. Also, they've been picking up some fish on the isolated brush piles. They've been picking up some fish on the willow trees and also the cedar trees and the pole sticks. So if you see some pole timber, I should say, get out and fish those. You never know, there might be a few crappie around those. And they're picking up some nice walleye on occasion, no big run, but they are picking up a few out at KK Island once again this week. and they've been either using night crawler still fishing in about 20, 25 feet of water. Other people have been trolling some of the points and all that structure on KK Island, occasionally picking up a nice walleye out at Truman. And on the points and the secondary points, they've been drifting some shad out there, picking up some catfish. And the boys, a few of them are going out, picking up a few bass, throwing big plastic worms, throwing slow rolling spinner baits and crankbaits, and pitching some jigs out at Truman. And let's see, let's go out Lake the Ozarks, you know, the upper end of Truman. The upper end of Lake the Ozarks, getting up there by the Truman Dam. We're still picking up some blue cats out there. Cut shad seems to be the best bet. And occasionally they're jigging or throwing some spoons and picking up a walleye, occasionally a white bass or hybrids, and some crappie down there. But then at Lake the Ozarks, that water temperature, by the way, was 86 degrees out there this morning. And that's going to change this weekend, keep saying that. But they've been hitting those points and going up in the main lake, still like the last couple of weeks, drifting shad, picking up some big cats. And off the points and secondary points, some of them have got that brush on them. I'm telling you, they're still catching some nice crappie out at Lake the Ozarks. I'd say 15, 20, 25, 15 to 20 anyway, getting those brush piles. Crankbaits, some people have been trolling, you know, slow trolling. And also they've been getting in their jig and night crawlers, picking up some fish as well. And a few crappies showing up around some of the docks out there. Check this out. And the bass fishing on the points and secondary points have been fair. They've been using some big plastic worms. They've been pitching jigs. And also they've been using some crankbaits off those points, occasionally picking up a nice bass at the Lake of the Ozarks. And looks good at the lake this weekend. One quick report out at Norfolk, that water temperature is way up to 89 degrees. That would be different this weekend. And they've been picking up still a few walleye at Norfolk. They're getting out there in that brush. That lake's still up a little. It's coming down pretty good, but it's they're picking up some fish in about 25 to 30 feet of water. Jigs and night crawlers are also spoons, working it in that brush. Once in a while, a big striper can be caught as well, deep water out at Norfolk. Well, that looks pretty good. Not a bad report for the third week of August. Going to be nicer this weekend. No excuse not to get out and get fit, that's for sure. Be sure to stick around. We've got some great photos coming your way. And we do want to invite you to like and share. We really, really appreciate that. And we already talked about subscribing. And if you'd like to send us any information or photos, or get a hold of us at fishingchums@gmail.com. Well, God bless you all. Thank you all you people for watching us. God, we really appreciate it. We appreciate all you folks over on YouTube, my golly, but all the thousands of people watching us on Facebook. God bless you. Tell your friends and neighbors about us and join in all the fun. That's it for the day. We've got some great photos. Hey, roll 'em, Brandon. Happy outdoors, everyone.